Hello. Well, as you know from the title, this is not going to be one of my typical videos. I'm not going to make anything in this video. Instead, I'm going to talk about my experience having COVID-19. Now, nothing I say in this video should be taken as medical advice. In fact, if you think you have any kind of symptom, you should call your doctor or medical provider right away. Don't be like me. So, let me start at the beginning. About almost 3 weeks ago, on a Thursday, my wife complained that she had a headache. It happens. We didn't think much of it. She took some Tylenol. We went about our evening and went to bed. The next morning, we got up. She still had a headache, and I had a ringing in my ears. Other than that, I was fine. Nothing really all that unusual. You get ringing in your ears occasionally. I thought maybe my ears needed to be cleaned or something. I went about my business. A little after noontime, my wife started to get a fever. Again, I was fine at this point. She took some Tylenol, and by early that evening or late in the afternoon, she had a fever of about 102. I had developed a headache, was behind my eyes, not very pleasant. And then I got a fever. My wife's fever, before we went to bed, went up to about 102, maybe 103. And my fever continued to escalate. It was, but at the time I went to bed, 105 point something, and I should have gone to the hospital at that point or called the doctor or something. But being me, I said, well, if it's any worse in the morning, I'll call the doctor and take care of it then. And I took some Tylenol and also went to bed. Sometime that night, I don't know exactly what time, it was still dark out, I woke up freezing, shivering, soaked through, the fever had broke, and I'd sweated through my clothes. I had to get up and change my night clothes, and I was hoping that that was pretty much going to be the end of it. Sadly, it was not. I should say that my wife's fever never got that high. I don't know why mine spiked like that, but it didn't do that again. I did have a fever throughout almost 2 weeks, but it never got that high again. So the following morning we knew something was up, and we called the hospital. Our doctor, of course, wasn't in, but the doctor on call called us back, and we told him what was going on, told him our symptoms, and he told us that it was more than likely COVID-19 because the regular flu just hasn't been a problem this year. They haven't seen hardly any of it. Almost everything has been COVID. And he recommended that we make an appointment, which would be that Monday. This is on Saturday, so Monday, to be tested for COVID-19, which we did. And he gave us the usual advice: drink plenty of fluids. If we have difficulty breathing or fever spikes again, whatever, then call or go to the hospital. So throughout the rest of the weekend, we had flu-like symptoms, chills, fever, hot flashes. The headache never went away, and no appetite. For the first week, probably, we didn't eat much of anything, maybe a little bit of broth and some yogurt or something each day, not much more than that. We did try to drink a lot of fluids, orange juice, that type of thing. And it was kind of like the regular flu, except it didn't go away. Usually, you have the flu, you have it for what? A couple of days at most, and you start to manage, you feel fine, you go on your way. This just didn't let up. And I think that's a big problem for a lot of people. This just keeps going and going and going. It beats the crap out of your immune system. But anyway, on Monday, we did get dressed, drove down. I don't know what this setup in your city or area might be, but they have at the hospital near here a semi-permanent area where you just pull your car in and the nurse comes out and you don't even get out of your car, and they stick a swab up your nose. It's over in 5 minutes, and then you go home. And the very next day they called to tell us we did indeed have COVID-19, both of us, which at this point was not a surprise. So by now it's Tuesday. We've had these symptoms: fever between 102 and 103, maybe a little higher than that, off and on. The chills the hot flashes, the chills again, the headache, which almost never went away, the listlessness, and you wake up every morning feeling like someone beat you with a rubber hose. And this went on pretty strong for the first week. Now, right after they called us on Tuesday, we were called that day by the state, who offered us, they asked us some questions, of course, and offered us assistance if we needed it, groceries, that sort of thing. We declined, although we did need to have groceries delivered because we were in the house for so long. We relied on our church to do that. And if you come down with this, you may want to, if you don't have a church or family that you can fall back on, then you may want to take up the state's offer. If, like this state, they call and ask you if you need help. Because when you're laid up this long and you can't get out, you may not have enough food or ginger ale or orange juice or whatever it is you're drinking in your house, and you need to be able to drink plenty of fluids. So later that day, after the state had called, again, we're feeling much the same every day here. We slept a lot that first week, just because we felt so miserable. And later that same day, on the Tuesday, the hospital called us back, our doctor, and told us that she wanted to see us. And we went down the next day. We did not go in the hospital. If you have COVID-19, they don't like you roaming around. Well, I should say we didn't go in the main part of the hospital. Where we went was the ambulance bay. There was no one else in there. The doctor and 2 nurses came down, gave us a quick checkup, took our blood pressure, temperature, that sort of thing. And they gave us each an inhaler. It's some kind of, I believe that it's some type of steroid inhaler. And they told us that they were giving us this because from experience they knew that people who used these inhalers didn't develop severe breathing problems as often. Still happen, but it didn't happen as often. And that's a big thing in COVID, is just when you're starting to come out of it and you think you're feeling better, all of a sudden you can't breathe. And I will talk about that in a moment. But anyway, we took the inhalers, they showed us how to use them, and back home we went. So this went on for a couple more days with just this same type of thing. Toward the end of that week, maybe the beginning of the next week, I actually did begin to have some breathing problems. It hurt to take maybe a really deep breath. I did call the doctor right away, told him exactly what was happening. I could go down if I felt that it was to the point where I couldn't breathe. He wanted me to come down. I didn't go. I would suggest that if it happens to you, you do go. Thankfully, it wasn't that severe. You get a tightening around your chest, and that's because you don't realize it, but you're taking deeper breaths and breathing a little faster, maybe trying to get more oxygen into your blood. So I'm told. Again, not a doctor. I'm just telling you what the doctors and the nurses told me. But it didn't last all that long, but it kept, I don't say it kept coming back severely, but I over the next few days I knew I was very conscious of it at times. Just never got really severe enough for me to say, hey, I really need to go to the hospital right now. But it was there. And this is something that they say you can get symptoms from COVID even after you're feeling better. I'm not quite 3 weeks since I was diagnosed as positive, and I'm feeling pretty good, but not great. I'm still very fatigued, and there are some other symptoms. Other symptoms that I had during this, after the first week, first let me get to there. After the first week, it started feeling a little bit better. Fever wasn't quite so high. My appetite came back a little bit. The headache finally went away. I didn't feel like I could jump up and run around the block or anything, but I felt better than I did the week before. And this continued with the occasional hot flash or headache coming on, or and definitely the fatigue and the aches and pains. So the other symptoms that they told me about were diarrhea, the headache, nausea, which I didn't mention, but we also had off and on throughout this ordeal, and several other things that I'm sure that I've forgotten. It was just a miserable time in general. And as I said, I think one of the things, aside from the breathing, which can be very, very dangerous, is the fact that it just lasts so long, that your body's fighting this off for so long that it wears you down. So that even when you do think you're feeling better, if you jump up and try to do too much at once, it's going to knock you back down. You may get symptoms again. So you want to be careful of that as you come out of it. Now, this case that I just told you about is considered, I'm told, a mild case, and it's considered mild because I wasn't hospitalized, and so far have not had the severe breathing problems, and hope that I never do. The bad thing about having COVID is sometimes it does some permanent damage to various parts of your body. I'm praying that that does not happen to me or my wife. And I just wanted to say, and I cannot stress enough, if you get any symptom at all, call your doctor or medical care provider and let them know right away. The sooner you start using the inhaler and let your doctor know, the better off you're going to be. So don't put that off. Do it right away. So I hope that you're not having symptoms, that you just clicked on this from curiosity. I urge you to take care of yourself. You don't want to go through this. This was a very mild case, and I got to tell you, it was miserable, and it's still ongoing. Hopefully I just slide right out of this and I'm fine, but you never know. And just people who have this can relapse late in the game when they think that they should be healing. So take care of yourself, wash your hands a lot, and God bless. Thanks for watching.